Hopefulness 2.0, Saturday, March 14th. Oh yes, changing some things up a little bit here. Got my little rack going. My blackout curtain there, even though it's not really necessary. It just kind of works. Yeah. So now I can put the tripod up here and have a more eye level kind of situation. Ah! However, make sure it's still recording. I have a thought. I have an idea. Let's put the knife there. Now, let's put this here. And then let's plug you in. I don't really need this hoodie, so I'm going to change real quick because it's kind of on the hot side. Yeah, no, I don't really need it. Let's grab a shirt out of the shirt hole. Oh no, he's getting naked. Ugh. Alright, so I've had my morning shake, which is good. My morning sort of protein-esque shake, not really a protein shake, because the real protein it had in it was Greek yogurt, which I should be putting more into it. And now fiber. Let's just try to chug this before it coagulates. Bottoms up. Oh shit. It's settling at the bottom. This is a mixture of like the store brand version of Metamucil, which is good. And then this like raw version I bought on Amazon, which is not good. Oh shit. Whoa. Not exactly pleasant. Oh shit. Just chugging all of it at once. The water's cold because I got it out of the fridge. But yeah, I did some yeah, this shirt is tight. It's one of my older shirts too, which you would think it would have loosened up by now, but I think it's a large. Probably need to get rid of it. I went down to the fitness center again last night to do my thing, and I realized we had a lat pull down machine. And I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and add those into the rotation, because I don't have a problem adding like a couple more, as long as I'm doing like the basic compounds that I was doing. So you know, at the chest press, I had to like adjust it because like the default chest press position is just way too low, and this shoulder I broke when I was a kid, or elbow, and during the physical therapy for it, I just couldn't do the work because it was just too painful for me. I didn't know. I was 8. I was 8.5 years old. My sister has just been born, and it was literally like the second to last day of school. So I came to school on the last day of school, 2nd grade, with a broken arm. I was playing chicken in my friend's yard with my friend and his brother and his brother's friend. And I won. And because I was a smart ass little shit, and because his brother was, you know, an impulsive asshole, when I won, he just like, once his, you know, brother was on the ground and fine and everything. We weren't supposed to be doing this in the yard, by the way. You don't play chicken in the yard, you do it in the pool, for the very reason. He came over and just fucking shoved me off of his friend's shoulders. And, you know, I go flying and I hit, and I'm double jointed. You know, I have the hyperextension situation going on here. And then this is where I'm at now, because I couldn't get my, during the physical therapy, I couldn't compress it enough. It started hurting too much. And so my range of motion is basically offset that way like 5 degrees. I'm gonna need another shirt because this one's too small. This one might work. Let me see. Oh yeah, that'll work. I need to lose weight anyway because otherwise I'll have to start paying money for new shirts. These are extra larges. This one fits for the most part. It's comfortable. Excuse me. It's comfortable. It's got a little stretch to it, which is nice. And I got it through the Pizza store from the Blog Brothers. I'm making some coffee. And I mean, that's another reason why I'm trying to work out, is because I know I need to, you know, get into better shape. If I don't, as much as I don't really like being alive, it's kind of, unless I decide to change that, which I haven't done yet, pretty much, you know, have to go about the whole, you know, be in shape situation. So, there you are. Oh, onto the new container of sugar. Using the old sugar, I'll use my little soup spoon that I just washed, so now I gotta dry it. It's a problem with having hand washing. It's like everything is all in one spot, and there's no real room. You know, you just do what you gotta do, I guess. So, yeah, I'm just trying to, now that I have the opportunity to work in a fitness center at my housing, because I have housing now, and I have a fitness center at said housing. There we go. Might as well take advantage. So that's what I've been doing. Yesterday, however, when I was trying to do the lat pull down, I couldn't because there was something wrong with the cable, and so I did a spot check on it. And I realized that the cable has slipped from the pulley in a spot. And so I tried to fix it, but I couldn't. Like, the cable is just too taut for me to be able to slip it back in without potentially, like, injuring myself. And then because of where it was located, in order to slip the cable back in, I basically had to push my fingers through an opening that was too small for my fat ass fingers. So, wasn't able to do that, wasn't able to fix that, so I put in a maintenance request for it. I still let the security guard know, but like, the security guards here are kind of lazy. Like, for one, especially the one that I was talking to, he's got like earbuds in all the time. And one of the things that I've noticed, like when I was living at the homeless shelter, like a lot of the staff would have their like earpods in, their AirPods in, during their shift while they're, you know, there kind of like monitoring us and stuff. And it's just like, while I understand, like, that's not a good thing to do. Like, that can potentially be a safety issue too. Because if you got someone talking to your ears and someone needs help, like what had happened literally like a week before I left, you know, you may have a harder time being aware of that fact. So, but I'm not there anymore. It is what it is. Way. At least this thing has a little, you know, nozzle pull out. And I've stopped like caring about the specific instructions of, let's see, well, that's not long enough, but whatever. It wants me to do it for, you know, to like fill it up to a specific point. I'll fill it up to a higher point, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, so I just did deadlifts, which were weird because the system doesn't really work great for deadlifts. I did the squats, which again are also on the weird side because like it's a little difficult to get under it. I think I just need to fix the starting position to be a little higher than it was. Because where it was not exactly the best starting position. I had to sort of readjust multiple times. It smells like this coffee is warm. It's weird. I'm going to get a couple more vigorous stirs in because I didn't put it in for 55 for whatever reason. Just 50. Alright. But I still got my numbers in, so and I was really feeling it too. Like I was definitely getting that sensation of, oh hey, I'm lifting stuff. I'm lifting weights. There's my plunger. So, I took care of that. And I just got an email notification recently, too, that, I say recently, it was like 7 hours ago. But, that stated that the request was in order, was in progress. I put it, when I mentioned it to the security guard, he didn't really, he didn't ask any questions. He didn't seem to write anything down. Things that, to me, especially having been a security guard, these are not things, these are things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to ask for, follow-up questions and stuff. Now, I try to be as thorough as possible, too. But I think when I had mentioned, if he could possibly mention it to maintenance or whatever, he kind of perked up a little bit. But I wanted to do my due diligence and make sure that it actually got taken care of. And so I put it online since I have that option. So I had already taken photos of it knowing that I needed to at least show somebody and potentially upload it to the online service that we have. Or not really so much but then I took those photos. Good Lord, the water pressure in here is just ridiculous at times. And so, it's been taken care of, fortunately, because I had mentioned in my email, or I guess my service request, whatever, because it wasn't really an email, but it's probably treated like one in a way, where, if it stayed like this, because it had slipped off and it was sitting on the axle of the pulley, and when you have potentially over 100 pounds of weight on it was a braided cable, and the braided cable is probably like half a centimeter thick, which is thick, but it's not thick enough because I could feel the grinding. And when you feel that grinding, that means that it's definitely a lot of friction going on. And that friction will cause damage. A braided cable has a lot of minor braids in it too. And those minor braids slowly start breaking off, and then one braid snaps, and then another one, other minor braids snap, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of redundancy in those things, but the fact that it would be going back and forth inside the system would mean that those little braids, that may get caught, get snapped and pulled backwards, and then rubbing up against something else, and just the chain reaction of a braided cable sitting on that axle like that would have caused further damage to the machine, but also potentially caused harm to a user. So, and that's one of the things that I would tell a lot of the guys at the homeless shelter, a lot of the other clients that were there, the guests, whatever you want to fucking call the people who are at the actual shelter living there. And it's if you can figure out a health or safety issue, or both, email. Don't just let somebody know, email them. because it creates a paper trail, and paper trails are harder to ignore. Also, if somebody does ignore it for whatever reason, then you have the proof of what you've done. And so, like, if somehow it comes back to you, or if something happens, you can showcase, hey, I said something, I put it in an email, and then people didn't do anything about it. You know, there's a liability on their end to actually take care of shit. Again, part of the security training. At least the training that I had. You know, I don't want to do work either. Like, I get it. I want to be lazy as fuck. I want to not do work. I want all the things to run smoothly. You know, I'm not a hypocrite in that regard, because I will be just as lazy. However, when something needs doing, then that's when I do it, especially if there is a health or safety concern. It's one of the reasons why, like, I hated working for that last employer, because, like, I couldn't do the things that needed to be done in certain ways because, so, when we were basically full, we had 11 people out of 12 possible beds filled, and one of the beds wasn't going to get filled because one client, you know, he had apparent PTSD related issues, jail, and didn't want to have a roommate because that would cause him to fly off into a rage. And I'm like, I don't know how acceptable that is in certain regards. Like, I get it. I don't want to have a roommate either because I've had a roommate for too damn long. I get that in that regard, but at the same time, like, and, you know, with our mental health capabilities where I was working at, didn't help either, but I did my best to believe the people who were there. But at times it felt like they were just trying to manipulate us. That said, I didn't approach them. I didn't approach their demands in any way like they were trying to manipulate us. I approached their demands as if, you know, it was me asking for the thing. And yeah, sometimes I'm a little manipulative. We all are but that's the thing. All humans are. And so trying to treat them special in that way and, like, say that they're going to be extra manipulative. Okay, well, let them hang themselves, you know, give them the rope that they're going to hang themselves with, kind of thing. Because you cannot, like, you may be responsible for them, but you cannot be 100% responsible for them. If they do stuff to themselves, there's not much you can do about it. So what you do is you follow your procedures as best you can. Now, I get it, that's some of the stuff that I couldn't do, but that's also because they just didn't have enough fucking people working there. Like, in the early days when I was working there, I was the only one who was working on certain days. And it's like, if everything went smoothly, it was a stressful day. And most of those days when I worked by myself, they were not going smoothly. Maybe it was because there wasn't somebody else to back me up, and so the clients knew it. And then also because I would become easily frazzled, they would maybe become more aware of it, and somehow maybe that would affect them, or maybe they would, you know, jump on that opportunity or whatever it is. Hey, Justin's fucking freaking out, man. We can fuck with him, or Justin's freaking out. You know, maybe we could do some stuff or whatever. Or, you know, maybe we can make it freak out worse, whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to try to read their minds. And that was one of the reasons why I continued to pressure my boss over us. Is like, make sure I have another person with me. It's not an unreasonable request. And, you know, there were, and even HR was just like, well, the minimum is one person per, like, 12. And so even when we have one tech and you're the only tech, we're at least, you know, meeting the minimum requirements. And I'm just thinking to myself, fuck you. I'm not that person. You know, it's like, if you need one minimum, then get somebody to fuck else, basically. And that's what they did. So, I didn't tell them, but, I told them, it's like, because when there's 12 people or 11 people, every 30 minutes we had to do a round to check everything, right? So I had to go around the building, check where everybody was at, figure out where they were doing, and then also have a basic one-line assessment of them, right? And then I got to write all that down too. And we can't use pencil. We had to use pen. So, and we couldn't like document it in like an electronic document for some fucking reason. And they would never prove to me their claim that it was mandatory because if we did it, then it would have to be done it some other way. And I'm just like, you just never showed me the proof. Just show me the proof of that. Let me see the actual like standards and practices that are required so that I can see that. Because otherwise you're just telling me because whatever. And you're just making it harder for me because I have a hard time writing correctly and I will make mistakes. And so and it got to the point where, so when I first started there, we would get audited by one of the other employees that worked for the company at another facility. She'd been working there for like 8 years, something like her. Well, she couldn't have worked there for 8 years. She's been working in the industry for like 8 years, but she'd only been working for the company that we were at basically since they began, which was like 2 years. And so she would come in and she would look at all of our documents and check to see if we had any errors. And if we had errors, she would put them aside and then she'd point them out to us and we had to fix them. Okay, cool. I get that. And that was kind of like an every 2 week thing because there wasn't really like a good turnaround process for that because it was still very much in the beginning, which was kind of a problem. It's like, you shouldn't open the facility if the facility isn't ready to be open, which it wasn't. Like, again, we didn't even have a broom. And even the nurse, she was like, Justin, if you fucking talk about that broom again, I'll smack you. And I'm like, I won't talk about it if we have a broom. And so then it started becoming closer to like once a week, right? And I was like, all right, that's still fine. I mean, it's like, if we make some kind of mistakes and we don't catch it, for whatever reason, like the next, and that was part of the thing too. It's like, we had to catch the mistakes of the previous employee during the changeover time frame. And so that would eat into our time. So we have 30 minutes to write out up to, and we can't like write it for the same time for each person. So it's like, 12:01, 12:02, 12:03, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the way down. So we got to write something down and we got to initial it off and everything. We got to do the whole thing, right? By the time you're done writing all of that, you've easily eaten up roughly 5 minutes of your time. So you have the starting point, and easily 10 minutes of your time is checking on these clients. Sometimes it's 5 depending on circumstance. Like maybe they're all in one room at the same time and they're all, in group or something like that, which was rarely ever a thing. We usually had to hunt at least one person down because usually somebody was either in their bed because they were detoxing or they were out and about while during detox and they were kind of having their own little episodes, or they were like meeting with the therapist. But like the therapist, in the beginning, we didn't have like a Teams chat for that, and the Teams chat was ineffectual for that crap. Like it was not an effective method of getting us to be aware, unless we were literally just reading the fucking chat all the time. It was an ineffectual way to announce to us that the client was being seen by the therapist. And so it would easily, one round would easily be like 10 minutes. And so, and that was on like a good day. Usually, like the better days was when it was like 2 or 3 clients and they were basically all housed in the same housing and they all came at roughly the same time and they all behaved roughly the same way and they basically all did the same stuff all the time. Those were the easier modes where then like it was much easier and we could spend way less time figuring out where everybody was. So half of our day, half of the 8 hours of day was walking around this facility, trying to figure out where everybody is and figuring out what they're all doing, and then writing down a one-line, just a one-line sentence about what they were doing, where they were, and all that kind of crap. Because you were easily spending 15 minutes doing that every time you had to do it, and you had to do it every 30 minutes. And so you start, blah, 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 blah. You finish your round, you go write it all down. Half of that time is already done. So you only have 15 more minutes to get a cell phone, to deal with some kind of individual drama, whatever the hell it is, to clean up after them. You know, when you only have 15 minutes, it's very hard to clean up all the dishes. Because then you got to start it. Then you got to start washing. And then you got to clean off your hands and make sure they're dry. And then go over and then pick up the now hopefully dry, because you didn't accidentally leave your hands. So like just the transition into and then out of washing dishes. Sometimes dishes can be done in 5 minutes. Sometimes it took 20. And that was if you did it all at once. Which is also a reason why to have a partner with you, because then be like, hey, I'm going to wash these dishes and I want to take care of them all. Can you do a round? Okay, cool. Boom. We're working together. We're getting stuff done. That was awesome. When it's by yourself, you can't do that. You don't have that luxury of being able to do one thing and then just take care of it while somebody else does the mandatory rounds. There were days where all I did was rounds. Sometimes there were, it's like, and especially when it was like it was me and somebody else, like we would have, like somebody would do just the front house and I'd just do the back house. And that would generally work. And then it was like, oh, it's lunchtime. They have to do all the rounds. Then it's their lunchtime. I have to do all the rounds. And then, you have to deal with whatever requests and stuff. And usually around our lunch was when they started getting free time. And so oftentimes our lunches would get pushed aside. And we only had 30 minutes, so we didn't really have an option to leave the facility. So we'd be on our lunch and they'd still be requesting stuff from us. And I'm like, I'm on lunch, can't work. And then they, try to guilt trip us and stuff like that, which is what happens when you have to, consume your lunch at work. Pay your people better. And so it got to the point where, and they got mad at me. Like, we had some repeaters, and they would give me lip and attitude, and I'm just like, I don't work for free. I'm on my break. I'm on my unpaid lunch. I do not work for free. You shouldn't. Nobody should. So I had to flip the script to them to say, I'm not going to do anything for you. Like, because to them it made it sound like I'm not going to do anything for them. I'm not going to do my job. I'm not going to help. I'm not going to help them when they need help. That is essentially why they were giving me attitude. And I had to flip the script and be like, I don't work for free. I'm at my job. I have 30 minutes of lunch. It's unpaid. I am mandated by law to do it. And so it got to the point where I didn't have lunches. I would literally just go, like, I would clock out. I'd go into the psych room. I'd put on some ASMR and nap for 30 fucking minutes. That was my lunch. Until I couldn't do that on some days. And that was frustrating, but, it was rare enough that it wasn't, a huge hindrance. But, so yeah, trying to be healthier. Build this little rack. I don't know if I'm going to keep it here. I kind of like it where it's at. We'll see. I still have other stuff that's kind of in the way. I have another rack that I need to build. The funny thing is I built this motherfucker after I took a shower. I didn't really build up a sweat, but I'm just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it now? But, that's the ADHD brain. Do it now or you won't do it. Yeah. Oh, man. Gonna talk to my therapist soon next week. I have scheduled my trip to the physical therapist as well. So I got that ride, the round trip, got that set up. Again, I don't even know what the circumstances will be regarding this. You know, as far as I'm aware, it was initially intended as a consultation so that we can then determine what's necessary. So that's probably all it's going to be. And my betting is they're going to be like, well, he's able to stand, he's able to walk. He has a little bit of struggles here and there. So here's the things that he can do for himself at home. That's probably what's going to happen, which sucks because that is not an effective way for me to get better. I am being active. I've only just started though. And, I will bump up my general, I've already considered life. Basically what I'm going to end up doing is 30 minutes really is all that's necessary in the fitness center, because I'm not a dude who's I'm not a bodybuilder or anything like that. I'm not going to become swole AF. I'm not going to become swole as fuck. One of the girls that I ended up really finding attractive, but I never could date. I tried, broaching the subject multiple times and it just always fell flat with her. Because I thought, there was an attraction there somewhere, but she just saw me as a brother, which sucked. But the first time I met her, one, I thought she was older. Sorry for that, Harm. But I find out later that she was probably 12 years younger than me, so, maybe it was for the best. But she had asked me, about workout tips. I don't know why she thought of me, but because she didn't want to look ugly, and I think it was the ugly. I think she said she didn't want to look muscly because she thought that looked ugly, and I was like, that's not going to happen unless you want it to. You're not going to become swollen muscly unless you want to, unless you do what is necessary to do that. And then I brought it up to her later after I had seen somebody else use the analogy, which was perfect. It's you can't accidentally write a novel. And that's essentially what the swole looks like. When somebody is super swole and really well defined, like Scotty Fitness on the YouTubes and TikTok, that man he has written a novel with his body. He has done what is necessary to look like that on purpose, with intent, with adjustments and editing and all that kind of crap. Because writing is rewriting, is editing, is rewriting, and all that kind of crap. And so you cannot look like Scotty Fitness by accident. It will not happen. And I know well enough how to do the exercises in a way that is safe. And it's you don't even have to go crazy on the weights either. It's you can do more reps, but with those reps, you can also start to build more control in the way that you move so that you can move more slowly up and down during a bicep curl or whatever, because then you're working the muscle differently. Because if you're just 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, that will work, and it will work with heavier weights, but let's say you can't get a lot of heavy weights. So instead, you're 1, 2, 3. When you move it that much more slowly, it's as if you're also acting like an isometric exercise. An isometric is just holding it. One of the best isometric exercises is literally just hold your arms out at the side and then just leave them there for as long as you can. That's a great isometric exercise. Because what are you doing? You're fighting against gravity. Because everything has potential energy, But if you move your hands to the side and your muscles activate in a way that's different than their typical, than their resting state, then they still have to be active to keep your arms up like this. And so I'm just keeping my arms up, and I can already feel it in like my shoulders. Like I can kind of feel the twinge in my right shoulder with my adhesive capsulitis. Like this is kind of hard on my right shoulder. It's easier on my left. I can feel it in my triceps. I can feel a little bit in my biceps too. I can feel a little bit in my forearms. You know, there's a little bit of a tingling sensation, you know? And the thing is, it's like, you add a 5-pound weight and then do it and see how much harder it is, you know? You can feel the burn, literally. And so by doing something like that, by slowing down your reps and doing more reps, you can activate your muscles in a more sort of endurance format. It's like slow twitch versus fast twitch. You're basically building dark meat. Because like that's what dark meat is versus white meat. The white meat is the fast twitch muscle. That's where the breasts are. That's where it's like they don't really get used, and when they do, flappity, 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 right? So there's these short, just burst muscles that can produce a lot of energy, and it's just like slap, slap, slap. Whereas a long twitch muscle fiber, the endurance muscle fibers, they usually have darker meat, more blood in them, more hemoglobin and stuff. And, you know, you'll find it in like migratory birds and like geese. It'll be more, they'll have more dark meat across most of their body versus a chicken or turkey. Because they're not ground-based, you know, just kind of chilling for the most part with the legs doing most of the work. Their whole body's doing a lot of the work, but especially in their breast area too. Because they're fucking migrating. They're moving, but they're not flapping, trying to get out, you know, away from a predator. They're literally just fucking traveling thousands of miles. And so, in essence, that's what you're doing. You're creating dark meat by slowing down your reps. So you'll taste better. Blood is a connective tissue, by the way. It doesn't connect in the same way as like a ligament, like, you know, cartilage, etc., or collagen, but it's still connective tissue. It's an organ. And blood makes things tasty. But it's not really the blood that you're eating. I mean, like when you're eating meat, you're not really eating blood. Even when it looks juicy and red and it looks like your meat is bleeding, it's not blood. I can't remember. It's not hemoglobin. It's heme is something else. Maybe if I remember, I'll put it in a comment. But for now, I think I'm done. So have fun.